you ever noticed how your strongest opinions arrive with a physical feeling? Not just a mental position, but a bodily certainty. Your jaw tightens, your shoulders set, your breathing becomes slightly more deliberate. And from this embodied conviction, you speak. You explain why that person is toxic, why that political position is naive, why that lifestyle choice is shallow, why that success story is actually a cautionary tale. You don't just believe these things, you feel them. The confidence is visceral. It feels like wisdom, like discernment, like the hard-won clarity of someone who has seen enough to know what's real and what isn't. And because the confidence feels so grounded, so undeniable, you never think to ask the one question that would unravel the entire structure. What if this confidence isn't clarity at all? What if it's just unprocessed pain that is hardened into certainty, and your opinions are not insights but symptoms? Because that's the mechanism that no one talks about. The relationship between what hurts you and what you believe, not in the obvious way trauma making you fearful, loss making you cautious, betrayal making you guarded. Everyone understands that. What's hidden is the way unprocessed pain transforms into intellectual positions, moral frameworks, aesthetic judgments, and social opinions that feel completely detached from your history. You think you dislike that type of person because you've observed enough to form an accurate assessment. But what if you dislike them because they represent a version of yourself you were punished for being, or a possibility you were denied, or a need you learned to suppress so thoroughly that now its very existence in others feels like an accusation? Your opinion feels like perception. It's actually memory, compressed into judgment, dressed in the language of principle. Think about the opinion you hold most strongly, the one you would argue about, the one that defines your social identity, the one that separates people you respect from people you dismiss. Maybe it's about work ethic, or authenticity, or ambition, or vulnerability, or how people should handle their emotions, or what constitutes real success. Now, trace it backward, not to the evidence that supports. That's easy to find. Evidence is infinite. Trace it to the first time you felt the feeling that now animates the opinion. Not the first time you thought it, the first time you felt it. The first time your body responded with that particular tension, that particular certainty, that particular need to be right. Because the body remembers before the mind articulates. Your opinions are often just your nervous system's history, translated into concepts and then mistaken for objective truth. The scenario plays out in every argument you've ever had that felt strangely personal, even though the topic was supposedly abstract. You're debating a colleague about management style, or a friend about relationships, or a stranger online about some cultural issue, and suddenly the conversation has an intensity that doesn't match the content. Your heart rate increases. Your language becomes more absolute. You find yourself unable to tolerate the other position, not because it's poorly argued, but because it feels threatening in a way you can't explain. And if you're honest, in those moments, you're not actually defending an idea. You're defending yourself. The idea has become a proxy for something inside you that was wounded, something that was never allowed to exist safely, something that got compressed into an intellectual position because feeling it directly was too dangerous. Your confidence in the opinion is actually the confidence of your defense system. It's not clarity, it's protection. Consider the person who has very strong opinions about emotional expression. They believe people should be more stoic, more controlled, less reactive. They frame it as maturity, as self-discipline, as not burdening others with your instability. And they can cite examples, people who fell apart professionally, relationships destroyed by drama, the value of keeping your struggles private. Their position feels principled, well-reasoned, grounded in observation. But what if their opinion was formed in a childhood where emotional expression was punished? What if they learned early that showing feelings meant rejection or danger or the collapse of the parental structure they depended on? Their adult opinion about emotional stoicism isn't the mature insight. It's the unprocessed pain of a child who had to suppress themselves to survive, now speaking through an adult's vocabulary, still protecting the same wound, still unable to tolerate the vulnerability they were never allowed to have. They don't see people who express emotion as immature. They see them as dangerous reminders of what they themselves were forbidden from being. The confidence behind their opinion is the confidence of survival, not wisdom. Or take the person with very strong opinions about ambition and success. They dismiss people who chase status, who want recognition, who build visible careers. They frame it as inauthentic, as selling out, as mistaking external validation for genuine worth. And they can point to genuinely hollow examples, people who achieved everything and still seem empty. The corruption that often accompanies power, the shallowness of social climbing. Their critique feels sophisticated, culturally aware, morally grounded. But what if their opinion was formed around a wound of inadequacy? What if they tried and failed, or never tried because the risk of failure felt unbearable, or were raised in an environment where success was used as a weapon against them? Their dismissal of ambition might actually be their unprocessed pain about never feeling capable of winning, never feeling worthy of being chosen, never feeling safe in the arena where recognition is distributed. They don't see ambitious people clearly. They see the mirror of their own buried hunger, and because that hunger feels shameful or dangerous, they transform it into a moral failing in others. Their confidence is the confidence of someone who has decided it's safer to reject the game than to risk losing it. The text arrives from someone you used to be close to. They've achieved something you haven't. Not something you wanted necessarily, but something that signals a kind of life you once imagined for yourself. And you feel the immediate opinion formation begin. You analyze their path, their choices, the compromises they must have made. You find the flaw, you identify the cost. You construct the narrative that explains why what they have isn't actually what it appears to be, why you wouldn't want it anyway, why your current position is actually the more authentic, more grounded, more genuinely human choice. And you feel the relief of this opinion, the way it settles you, the way it restores your internal equilibrium. But what if that opinion was generated not by observation, but by the specific pain of watching someone else live a version of a life you quietly abandoned? What if your critique is actually grief, compressed into judgment, because grief would require you to admit what you let go of, and judgment lets you feel superior about letting it go? Your confidence in your opinion is actually the confidence of your avoidance. It's not discernment. It's the psychological equivalent of looking away from something that hurts and then explaining why looking away was the wise choice. This is why your opinions about other people are often so emotionally charged. Genuine observation can be interesting, even fascinating, but it rarely feels urgent. Pain-driven opinion feels urgent. It feels like survival, because on some level, your psyche is treating every differing position as a potential threat to your internal stability. And the confidence you bring to your opinion isn't designed to explore truth. It's designed to protect you from feeling something you don't want to feel. The opinion becomes a wall. The more confident you are, the thicker the wall. And because confidence feels good, because certainty feels like strength, you keep building, never noticing that what you're actually constructing is a prison made of unprocessed pain, where every strong opinion is another brick that keeps you from experiencing the world as it actually is. The more intelligent you are, the more sophisticated this mechanism becomes. Intelligence doesn't free you from pain-driven opinion. It weaponizes it. A less intelligent person might simply say, "I don't like that," and leave it at that. But an intelligent person builds an entire intellectual framework to justify the dislike. They reference philosophy. They cite research. They construct arguments so coherent, so logically satisfying, that they never think to question whether the foundation is their own unprocessed wound rather than objective reality. They become so good at arguing for their positions that they forget to examine why those positions feel necessary. Their intelligence becomes a shield against self-awareness, because why would someone this thoughtful need to look inward? They've already thought outward with such precision. But precision in the wrong direction is just a more elegant form of blindness. You can be exquisitely logical about other people's flaws while being completely oblivious to how those flaws map onto your own unresolved material. Think about the last time you were in a conversation where someone held an opinion you found obviously wrong. Not just different, wrong. Dangerously wrong. Harmfully wrong. The kind of wrong that made you wonder how they could believe something so misguided. Do you remember the feeling? That particular combination of disbelief and certainty? That sense that you were seeing something they couldn't see? That your clarity was a kind of responsibility? That you needed to help them understand? Now flip it. What if they were having the exact same experience about your opinion? What if their certainty felt as visceral to them as yours felt to you? What if both of you were not actually debating ideas, but defending different wounds, different suppressions, different versions of selves that were never allowed to exist safely? Your confidence in your rightness was actually the confidence of your pain, meeting their confidence, which was the confidence of their pain, and neither of you was actually talking to the other. You were both performing internal defense routines, using each other as the audience for psychological processes that had nothing to do with the topic at hand. This is the social dynamic that pain-driven opinion creates. It feels like intellectual engagement. It's actually emotional avoidance. Two people, each speaking from the compressed history of what they weren't allowed to feel, each believing they're having the conversation about ideas, each actually recruiting the other into their private psychological theater. And because both are confident, because both feel certain, because both can cite evidence and construct arguments, the dynamic can continue indefinitely. Neither person ever asks, "Why does this opinion matter so much to me? What would I feel if I didn't hold it? What part of me is speaking right now? And when did that part first learn that it needed to be right in order to be safe?" These questions are too threatening. They would require sitting with the pain that the opinion was designed to manage. And sitting with pain is slower, harder, and less immediately satisfying than winning an argument. The behavioral pattern becomes self-reinforcing. You hold a pain-driven opinion, which creates distance from people who disagree, which prevents the intimacy that might expose the pain, which means you never get disconfirming information about your opinion, which means your opinion remains unchallenged, which reinforces your belief in its accuracy, which makes you more confident in your next opinion. It's a closed loop, and the loop protects itself by ensuring you never get close enough to anyone with a different experience to discover that your certainty was actually blindness. You stay safe, you stay right, you stay alone, and you call it principle. But what would it actually look like to hold opinions without this pain compression? Not to become opinionless, not to pretend you have no preferences or values, but to recognize the difference between an opinion that emerged from genuine reflection and an opinion that emerged from unprocessed hurt. The first kind is flexible. It can be questioned without threatening your identity. It can be revised without feeling like death. It doesn't need to be defended with urgency because it isn't protecting anything fragile. The second kind is rigid. It arrives with confidence that feels like armor. It cannot tolerate doubt because doubt would let the pain through. It needs to be right because being wrong would mean the wound was exposed for nothing. Real opinions are interesting. Pain-driven opinions are exhausting. And the exhaustion you feel after certain conversations, the strange emptiness that follows certain debates, is often the signal that you've been defending your pain rather than exploring your thinking. The internal contradiction is what makes this so difficult to see from the inside. The very mechanism that creates your blindness presents itself as your sight. Your pain-driven opinion wears the mask of your perception. And because the mask is so familiar, you never think to look behind it. You believe you're the exception, the one whose strong opinions are actually based on genuine insight, the one who really can see clearly, the one whose confidence comes from understanding rather than unprocessed hurt. But that's what everyone believes. That's the universal feature of this mechanism, not the exception to it. The people who are most blind are the ones most convinced of their clarity, because their conviction is the blindness itself. Think about the times you changed your mind about something important, not slightly radically. The opinion you held with absolute confidence that you later realized was wrong. In retrospect, you can see what you couldn't see then. The evidence was always there. You just couldn't receive it because your confidence was a filter that only let through what confirmed it. You weren't wrong because you lacked information. You were wrong because your pain had compressed into certainty, and certainty prevents learning. The opinion that felt like your most grounded insight was actually your most effective defense against insight, and the discovery that you were wrong didn't just revise your thinking. It exposed the pain that had been hiding inside your confidence all along. This is the awareness gap that keeps the mechanism hidden. You think you're forming opinions based on observation, when you're actually forming them based on protection. You think you're receiving impressions when you're actually constructing defenses. And because the construction happens so fast, so automatically, so convincingly, you experience it as discovery rather than creation. You feel like you're finding truths about the world when you're actually imposing your own psychological needs onto the world and calling the result principle. The validation dependency that underlies this is relentless. Every opinion that gets confirmed by others becomes evidence of your perceptiveness. Every "you're so right" becomes another brick in the identity you built around being the one who sees clearly. But validation of pain-driven opinion is not validation of truth. It's just multiple people sharing the same wound, and the social reinforcement makes the wound harder, not easier to see. You become trapped in an echo chamber of mutual projection, where everyone confirms everyone else's pain-compressed certainty, and no one ever asks the dangerous question: what if we're all just defending our unprocessed hurt and calling it understanding? The delayed emotional reaction is often where the truth finally seeps through. You have the opinion in the moment, certain and sharp. But hours later, sometimes days later, something shifts. You remember a detail that doesn't fit your narrative. You feel a strange discomfort that you can't name. You find yourself wondering, for just a second, if you were actually defending something rather than exploring something. But by then, you've already acted on your opinion. You've already created distance, or sent the message, or told the story to 3 friends who confirmed your read. The doubt arrives too late, and the mind, brilliant at protecting coherence, dismisses it. I was just tired. I'm overthinking. My first instinct was right, and the loop closes again. But what if you started paying attention to those delayed reactions instead of dismissing them? What if you treated that subtle discomfort not as noise, but as signal? Not that your opinion was wrong necessarily, but that your opinion was incomplete, that there was more to feel, that your initial certainty was covering something your mind didn't want you to notice. What if the moments when you feel most confident are actually the moments when you should be most suspicious of yourself? The identity instability that emerges when you seriously consider this is significant. If your strongest opinions are actually compressed pain, who are you without them? If your confidence is actually defense, what is actually true about your positions? If you can't trust your certainty, how do you navigate a world that demands decisions? These questions are disorienting because they strike at the foundation of the self you've constructed, but they're also the doorway to something more stable than pain-based identity. They're the doorway to genuine curiosity, to actual presence, to the kind of thinking that doesn't require you to be the most confident person in the room, because it doesn't require you to be anything other than honest. Because here's what replaces pain-driven opinion when you stop compressing: inquiry. Not the performative inquiry of someone asking questions to prove their open-mindedness, but the simple, open inquiry of someone who is actually uncertain, who is actually uncertain, who is actually interested, who doesn't know yet and isn't afraid of not knowing. This inquiry is quieter than opinion. It doesn't give you the same hit of certainty or superiority. It often leaves you more confused rather than less, but it's the only kind of thinking that actually connects you to reality rather than to your own projection of it. The person who has done this work, who has genuinely examined their own pain compression patterns rather than just intellectually acknowledge them, moves through the world differently. They still have opinions. They still feel immediate reactions. But they hold these reactions lightly. They know that their first response is usually their history speaking, not their wisdom. They don't suppress the reaction, but they don't trust it either. They let it be there. They notice what it might be telling them about themselves, and they wait. They wait for the second response, the slower one, the one that comes from having sat with uncertainty long enough for something genuine to emerge. And they know that this second response might be completely different from the first, and they're willing to be wrong about their first impression in a way that the certainty-dependent person cannot afford to be. This is the behavioral shift that no one talks about when they discuss self-awareness. It's not about being more agreeable. It's not about pretending you have no preferences in a naive way. It's about recognizing that your mind is constantly generating strong opinions that serve your psychological needs, and choosing not to act on those opinions until you've tested them against your own internal experience over time. It's about developing the capacity to say, "I'm not sure why I believe this yet," and mean it. Even when your mind is screaming that you're sure, that it's obvious, that only a fool wouldn't see it. It's about trusting the slow over the fast, The uncertain over the certain, the curious over the convinced. The ego exposure in this process is intense. You have to admit not just once but continuously that your confidence lies to you, not maliciously protectively, but lies nonetheless. You have to admit that what felt like your greatest strength, your ability to hold strong positions, might actually be your greatest blind spot. The mechanism by which you avoid genuine self-knowledge and authentic connection. You have to sit with the possibility that you've been wrong about things you were certain about, that you damaged relationships with your false confidence, that you've built an identity on a misperception. This is not comfortable work. This is a work of dismantling the self you've known in order to discover the self that is actually there. And the perception versus reality gap never fully closes. Even as you do this work, even as you become more aware of your pain compression patterns, you will still compress. The mechanism is too fundamental to eliminate. But what changes is your relationship to it. You begin to catch it faster. You begin to hold your certainty more lightly. You begin to ask, in moments of sharp confidence, what if this is about my pain? Not as a rhetorical device, but as a genuine question. You begin to notice the emotional need that your opinion is serving, and you address that need directly, rather than using an abstract position as an unconscious vehicle for its resolution. The social dynamics shift too. Your relationships become slower to form, but deeper when they do, because you're no longer bonding over shared pain-compressed certainty. Your conflicts become more productive because you're less certain that you're right, which means you're more able to hear the other person's actual experience rather than your interpretation of it. Your solitude becomes more comfortable because you're no longer filling it with mental narratives about what you believe and why others are wrong. You're just there, in the uncertainty of not fully knowing yet. And in that uncertainty, something genuine becomes possible. The internal contradiction that makes this sustainable is that you become more accurate about the world precisely by becoming less certain about it. Your opinions, when they do arrive, are slower but more grounded. Your intuition, stripped of its pain compression component, becomes actually trustworthy in ways it never was before. But you pay for this accuracy with the loss of the quick certainty that once made you feel so perceptive. You trade the sharp, satisfying hit of confidence for the slower, quieter, more uncertain work of genuine inquiry. And you discover that what you thought was clarity was actually just speed, and that real clarity moves at the pace of reality, not at the pace of your need to defend against it. So the next time you feel that sharp certainty about something, that immediate knowing, that precise opinion, that intuitive hit that makes you feel like you see what others mispause, not to suppress it, not to deny it, but to examine it. Ask yourself what pain this opinion might be protecting. Ask yourself what you would feel if you weren't sure. Ask yourself if you're willing to be uncertain about this in order to possibly be right about something more important. Ask yourself if your confidence is actually blindness wearing a convincing mask, because the sharpest opinions are usually the ones that cut you off from seeing. The most satisfying certainty is usually the certainty that prevents genuine understanding. And the confidence that arrives instantly, fully formed, and emotionally charged is usually not confidence at all. It's the past, disguised as principle, demanding that the present conform to its shape. Real seeing is slower. It's less certain. It's less satisfying. But it's the only kind that actually sees anything other than your own unprocessed pain. And if you can sit for that, If you can tolerate the loss of your sharpest opinions, the ones that made you feel intelligent and perceptive and safe, what remains is something quieter but more real. Not the you who defends every position perfectly, the you who is finally present enough to actually think at all.